Hello, Wolfpack! Catastrophe here, and tonight we're clawing into a topic I never thought we'd ever feature on our show: good dark comedies!
I'm just as surprised as you are.
Now, if you're familiar with our channel, then you know your wacky internet kitty has a tendency to despise horror comedies. Mostly because I mainly review horror anthologies, where a ton of them are god-awful. I'm open to new things, of course, but oftentimes even my favorite supernatural sagas utterly bomb at comedies, since the writers, who are exceptional at making you scared or wary of the dark, cannot make you laugh to save their 9 lives.
Come on, bounce with me!
However, while I complain and riff the dickens out of cringe fails, I don't want folks to presume I hate all dark comedies, period, as I think good horror comedy can be done. Truth be told, there are so many fantastic, grim misadventures that I, and even the hardcore horror community, adore with unbridled praise. A big reason why I come down so hard on bad, goofy episodes in our review game is due to the high standards of quality humor real horror comedies achieved. Blending laugh-out-loud fun and unsettling nightmares together is a tough task for any creator, but if you can balance it out with even minor scratches, then you can win a wonderfully bizarre work of art. Sometimes you fail, but sometimes you can obtain something morbidly marvelous. I just have taste. You've heard me decry and mock endless stupid shenanigans, but what do I consider grand grim hijinks? Well, prepare to laugh or cry, cause you're about to see. These are my top 10 favorite horror comedy movies.
Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Let's shred with the best American zombie comedy of the punk generation. This is the sort of sequel/spin-off to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, but of course played with a more outrageously goofy, in-your-face attitude. The plot's a very basic zombie survival horror, where we follow a gang of dumb teens and grouchy old coots who accidentally find themselves roped into the silliest start of a zombie outbreak since Paul W.S. Anderson's garbage. However, unlike the Alice torture, Return of the Living Dead has so much self-aware humor and goes to insane lengths in its Walker world. It appeals to horror lovers thanks to its totally twisted sense of weird. This movie has it all: grotesque zombies, blood, heavy metal music, gorgeous makeup, radical terror time, hot goth girls stripping in the boneyard, and even our favorite Friday the 13th hero, Tommy Jarvis. This gem's the ultimate goth classic, as it represents the horror fanbase in a delightfully over-the-top way. However, it makes it low on the list since there's shockingly a ton of creepy moments too, almost making it a serious scary flick. The Tarman is still gruesome to this very day, and the zombies in this film actually are dangerous. Why? Because they can think.
Tremendous 10 more paramedics.
It's amazing how well this plays with both dumb fun, yet maintains a dread of doom. This flick paved the way for a lot of the zombie tropes we know today, such as zombies eating brains, infections, and failure to contain a dead epidemic, but under a wackier series of unfortunate events. And boy, does it go so hard on the ridiculousness, since it's so amusing to see how these goofballs desperately try to prevent things from getting worse, only to escalate the insanity even further. The big joke is a parody of idiots and horror stories, gradually making the terror worse than before. But it's so demented that you can't predict where it'll go next. Brutal, unapologetic, gnarly, sexy, and eager for a bite. Much like a canned zombie, Return of the Living Dead's awesomeness can't be contained.
I thought you said if we destroyed the brain, it'd die.
It worked in the movie!
Well, it ain't working now, Frank.
We're in the movie line!
Meet me in a half hour at the North by Northwest corner.
I know a lot of people will be pissed Young Frankenstein didn't make the list, but what can I say? I love High Anxiety more, simply because it's way funnier. Before there was Scary Movie, this was the OG horror genre parody, with exaggerated slapstick humor, offensive fun, weirdo characters having a blast being insane, clever writing, and even an admiration of the terror genre. Legendary comedian Mel Brooks made this movie as a love letter for Alfred Hitchcock, so all the horror shoutouts and parody shots are mostly the master of suspense's filmography being riffed on. The plot mainly acts as a goofy spin on North by Northwest and Vertigo, but there's also Psycho, The Birds, The Man Who Knew Too Much, etc. Unlike a ton of bad parodies, Mr. Mel and his team truly idolize the works of Hitch, and basically play out his style under a less serial light. And this old movie still holds up beautifully as a dumb, fun classic. Everyone gives it their all, and the comedic moments are so spontaneous or bizarre that it's hard not to laugh. In this tale, Mel Brooks plays a rising psychiatrist named Dr. Thorndike, who gains a job as warden of a corrupt asylum, only to quickly find himself wrapped up in a good old Hitchcock conspiracy, where his morally dubious coworkers plot against him, as the doc figures out what's going on here. If you love Airplane, Top Secret, or heck, even Scary Movie, then I think this is right up your alley, as it's a perfect parody.
If you ask me, I think Dr. Ashley was a victim of foul play.
This film is so terrific that I almost question if it's better than Spaceballs. Brooks and his iconic stars are so into the craziness. The imagery is brilliant, timing's perfect, the love for Hitchcock's thrills glows, the jokes are raunchy fun, and its entertainment is just the prescription you need. High Anxiety, you win.
What I mean is, can you be scary?
What do you think of this? You like it?
It's not a true horror comedy list if you don't have at least one Tim Burton classic. Beetlejuice is genuinely one of Burton's most creative and fantastical projects ever. So great it became a cult legend, putting Burton on the map. In this journey, a nice newlywed couple randomly die in a hilarious accident, only to become ghosts haunting their lovely mansion. However, the afterlife isn't all it's cracked up to be. As they learn purgatory is a government bureaucracy they have to sort through until they can find peace. Sadly, even Gilbert Gottfried can't save them now.
When I was alive, I worked for the Department of Motor Vehicles!
However, a new family of misfits moves into their old house to take over, forcing the ghost couple to scare them out since they're disturbing their final resting place. To make matters worse, a loony, sleazy demon con artist named Beetlejuice enters the picture to con them by offering to help them out in the afterlife biz, in exchange for them releasing him back into the realm of the living to wreak havoc. If you haven't noticed, the greatest element of this is the awe-inspiring imagery and gothic effects. This imagery is pure Burton, and so distinctly designed that you will remember it long after the story ends. The Afterlife Office, the Sandworms of Saturn, and the ghostly powers are super creative, and feel like a dark dream brought to life. However, as you can guess, what made it a strong comedy is naturally our favorite Batman, Michael Keaton, as the monster.
Ah, possession! Good. Learn to throw your voice, fool your friends, fun and party.
Keaton is so good as Beetlejuice that he's unrecognizable. Turns out Troy Baker's not the only guy who can be both Batman and the Joker.
What are your qualifications?
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it!
Sadly, Beetlejuice the character is not in the film for very long, yet he definitely leaves a huge impact in his screen time. The movie as a whole is so larger than life that I can see why it gained a hardcore fan base. So good that it eventually became a cartoon show. Deep down, the movie's a haunted house story, but as is for the comedy path, played for laughs, along with a little horror. I'm shocked at some of the creepy moments scattered around the zany antics, but overall the film's so fun and inventive that you almost forget it's a ghost story. Imaginative, stylish, insanely cool, and unholy, Beetlejuice is a nice model.
Go ahead, make my millennium.
Here, you forgot your axe.
Ah, our dear Elvira. How can you not love the perky goth with two huge things? Her talent and sense of fun. What did you think I was gonna say? Elvira's first movie is campy, mischievous, lowbrow amusement. In other words, a totally radical goth party crasher. In Cassandra Peterson's first movie, as her iconic role, Elvira gets cancelled. But just when she's down on her luck, a long-lost relative of hers suddenly passes away, leaving Elvira her haunted house, which the vampire vixen takes advantage of in order to find some way to get back on her feet again. But what do you know, Elvira's evil warlock uncle also drops into town in order to snatch the spell book sealed within the house, crossing paths with the Dark Mistress, where hilarity ensues. Elvira basically shows off her love for B-movies and the old school 80s rebel phase, as she's a sassy, crude, snarky goth goddess surrounded by a town of total squares.
Well, I never.
Yeah, and you never will with them soup cans on your head.
The movie does spiral into an old-fashioned monster story, since as Elvira deals with the town full of pricks, she also stumbles upon her magic heritage and eventually duels with the wicked villains who attempt to, you guessed it, take over the world.
Eventually!
I love Elvira's attitude, as it feels like a huge jab at horror haters, since she's this smoking hot goth smartmouth, simply mocking a bunch of Puritans who criticize her, trolling those who dig her, and showing off why horror is fun. You can tell this was a passion project, since the shameless tood and love for weirdness is all over.
How's your head?
I haven't had any complaints yet.
I really miss comedies like this, since we need some uncompromising crudeness nowadays, especially if there's enough self-awareness and appreciation for the crowd. What makes it so good is that it might as well be an adult Goosebumps episode, since it has the spectacle of oddness, campy tone, wacky characters, wicked levity, and naturally, Elvira reminding you why she was infamous. A film so underrated that it grants pleasant dreams.
Yours truly, Elvira. That gal with the enormous, ratings.
Yeah, boy! While Return of the Living Dead may be America's best zombie comedy, Shaun of the Dead is the UK's best zombie comedy. In this tale, we follow a big fat loser named Shaun, who's so low on life that he's practically a shell of a man himself, just going through the motions. Until one day, the zombies destroy the world, where this pathetic wuss tries to rise up as an underdog hero and guide his pals to safety in a nightmarish world. And given that this was the earliest buddy comedy featuring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, it descends into sheer stupidity from here on out. I'm legit amazed how this film perfectly riffs zombie cliches, but also has heart. What makes this movie mega fun is how it's just a gang of idiots desperately trying to survive the zombie land, Walking Dead style, but doing every dumb mistake possible and infighting amongst each other like brats. It's so dumb, but a fun dumb.
Once again, the bodies of the recently deceased are returning to life and attacking the living. There is no indication as to how or indeed why.
What are you doing?
While Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are an S-tier comedy duo, the director really pours his soul into making this comedy smarter than the fart joke suggests. The zombies are really grotesque for a funny film. The characters all have a nice dynamic bouncing off each other, even that twat David. There's so many knee slappers that are guaranteed to make your day, and shockingly of all, there's some touching real moments sprinkled in as well. Shaun legit undergoes a character arc where he grows up from the deadbeat loser doormat he begins as into a stronger, confident man who makes amends as the plot carries on. It honestly makes it both deep, yet even funnier, since we have this deep message brought to us in a world of comical zombies.
I'm so sorry, Philip.
Why? What have you done now?
The movie takes a typical horror story concept but parodies the heck out of it. Over time, Shaun of the Dead has exploded in popularity as comedy platinum, and it's safe to say it'll live on that way thanks to a delightful riff on a beloved genre. It's so lively that its good times are not gonna stop now.
Take car, go to Mum's, kill Phil, sorry, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
You guys are ghost exterminators? That's right, Mac. The Boo Brothers. If they're hunting, we're hunting!
Alright, before my doo-dogs kill me, let me just say, no, this is not the best Scooby-Doo movie, but it is the funniest. I don't care if it's a tune aimed at kids, Scooby-Doo is a horror icon, since his entire franchise is entryway horror for younger viewers, as not everyone can ease into the hard R-rated gold. In case you don't know, Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers is about, Scooby-Doo meeting the Boo Brothers. After a ghost evicts Shaggy and his dogs from his crib, they take a road trip down the deep South country, since Shaggy inherited his dead uncle's plantation and the family jewels. However, the family fortune is hidden somewhere within the haunted mansion, where our trio solve the mystery of its whereabouts. Unfortunately for them, numerous colorful characters and kooky antagonists go after our poor heroes, just to make the treasure hunt even harder by getting into all kinds of wacky hijinks.
Hey boys, We got us another Beauregard!
Beauregard?
While Mystery Inc. is solving the case, they summon the Boo Brothers, a doofy trio of spirits who specialized in ghost busting. They essentially hunt down and scare away the overwhelming evil ghosts, and aid our equally goofy detectives all throughout. The Boo Brothers are a parody of the Three Stooges, and since I'm a huge fan of Moe, Larry, and Curly, they guaranteed this a high ranking on my list. I love the Three Stooges, so the Dodos as ghosts was a nice treat.
Going down!
Though I will say, for a goofy family picture, there's quite a few creepy moments, dark imagery, and a gothic atmosphere under all the yucks. Even with all the stupidity, most of the foes are outright trying to kill our favorite talking dog and pals. It's somehow both suspenseful and darkly hilarious.
Don't worry, it won't hurt you. Ghosts can't hurt anyone. Yeah!
The movie lacks half of Mystery Inc.'s team, but it makes up for that with some wacky new characters. I love the goofy gorilla who just wants to play, Sheriff Boss Hogg, the Cobra Commander sounding Colonel, the Wicked Skull Demon, and even the weird rednecks. Heck, this movie seriously redeems Scrappy-Doo in my eyes. It's that good. The story's just so silly, so eerie, and so cartoony, I love it. That is the essence of Scooby-Doo's greatness. Again, not the #1 platinum Scoob, but I always have a blast watching it, since the comedy hits every target spot on. I'm not ashamed. The Boo Brothers flick is a dazzling gem, waiting for you to find.
I hate to think what it would sound like if the big fella ran into the skull ghost.
Yeah, baby! Evil Dead 2 is the greatest entry of the Evil Dead saga, and to this day, it still holds up as a masterpiece of morbid madness. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are both worshipped kings amongst us horror fans, and this film is one of the biggest reasons as to why. Evil Dead 2 is the best sequel of the franchise, since it's the point where the series finally settled upon a direction moving forward, and established the vital elements of the Ash Williams journey. Some folks actually dislike it since they prefer the original movie, which was a dead serious horror tale when things kicked off, but Evil Dead 2 works as a delightful reboot timeline, which led to even greater adventures afterwards. Raimi took the criticisms of his B-movie quality to heart and began his illustrious career as the ultimate creator of over-the-top epics, with this being his first in his signature style. But what makes this one special? We pick up right off the end of Evil Dead 1. Ash Williams has been possessed by the evil forces, but after some most unorthodox bumbling, he forces the evil spirit into his hand, hacks it off, and goes nuts trying to recollect his shattered mind. Ordinarily, this seems horrifying on Joker levels, but it's okay, because it's all played for dumb kookiness, and Bruce Campbell finds his calling as a missing stooge.
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
Much like Scooby's movie, this has a wide variety of gimmicks to make it riveting. It genuinely contains some dead serious horror, but also has over-the-top comedy right out of a child's extreme dreams. Cheesy stop-motion effects, as if this is a B-movie, trippy demon lore, radical action, gore fests that make Rob Zombie look try-hard, funny gags every few seconds, and Ash growing into the man we all know. This gets super bizarre and has so many surreal moments, but it manages to make them both creepy and also goofy fun. This is my kind of freaky fun, since it just feels so uncaring about how deranged it is, and somehow made fighting demons off for your life wacky. I highly recommend this more than Evil Dead 1, just because it was so good, it sealed the franchise's place in horror history. No denying, it's the king, baby.
I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
It's Partytime!
If there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Yes, it's true. This film is the shiz. After all these years and decades of cinema, the OG Ghostbusters remains a phenomenal otherworldly experience. How can you not love Ghostbusters? It's so amusing, so creative, so well written, so well acted, and so funny that you'd have to be a lifeless ghost to not find even a little entertainment value from it. If you somehow don't know, Ghostbusters follows a group of dim-witted blue-collar scientists discovering the existence of the paranormal, where they quickly market themselves as ghost hunters to protect New York City from the sudden uprise and unholy evil, and eventually find themselves trying to save the world. What makes Ghostbusters so good is that it's essentially a horror movie scenario, but with goofball comedians as the heroes. It goes without saying the film has top-tier talents who make the dialogue and even scary scenes function. Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Annie Potts, and Lord Helmet are all perfect, and make what could have risked being a so bad it's good spectacle into a successful capture of lightning in a bottle. There's no doubt this movie is very memorable and quotable. The visuals are so epic that proton packs and a marshmallow man are household icons. Even if you see it once, you truly remember something from this adventure.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
He slimed me. Why worry? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back.
Naturally, the comedy's enhanced by the talents behind Caddyshack and Groundhog Day. While I'm sure you haven't noticed the franchise being milked bone dry, the original movie is still a masterpiece, worthy of praise, since it's another smooth blend of unnatural cosmic terror with witty comedic genius. The actors all have terrific chemistry with each other, and the behind-the-scenes crew truly offered us some haunting ghost designs and effects. Plus, who could forget that joyful tune?
Who can you call?
Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters is a textbook definition of movie magic, because it's enchanting, dark, dazzling, and goofy all at the same time. No matter what time we're in, bustin' makes me feel good.
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
It's Partytime!
Yo.
What's up?
Scary Movie is filthy, crude, juvenile, mean, offensive piece of work that relentlessly riffs big horror movies and stereotypes people for fun. And I love every second of it.
I'm on TV! Oh shit! First cops, now this?
Despite the franchise's infamous reputation back when it had garbage sequels, and indirectly led to the Seltzerberg era of parody, Scary Movie 1 is still an all-time classic for raunchy dark comedies, and holds up as solid dumb fun. If it isn't obvious, the flick's a self-aware parody of the original Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, mixed with some other than recent horror hits back in the day.
Can I tell you a secret?
Sure, man.
I see dead people.
Man, this shit is awesome!
Yo, son, you gotta roll some more of that shit outside.
Developed by the Wayans brothers, Scary Movie was meant to be sort of the new generation's Airplane / Spaceballs, but with that edgy 2000s humor, which made it super effective. I love how this movie does not care who it offends, nor holds back, since they cross more lines than Shaun of the Dead, yet has even more cartoonish antics that'll make you crack a smile at least once. Believe it or not, this skyrocketed a few careers, such as Anna Faris, Regina Hall, and even revived Shaun and Marlon Wayans' stardom after losing their underrated series.
Watching television shows doesn't create psycho killers. Canceling TV shows does. The Wayans Brothers was a good show, man. It was a good ass show, and we didn't even get a final episode.
Of course, Ghostface gets ragged on a lot, to the point where he somehow evolved into the funniest character in the film.
Just chillin', killing.
Now, this is a movie not for the faint of heart, since it's drenched in edgy, in-your-face comedy and mocks everyone, almost acting like a South Park episode in that regard. So it's amazing they accomplished what they did with this ride.
Reporting live for Black TV. White folks are dead, we're getting the fuck out of here. Let's roll, damn it. Let's go, motherfucker. Go, go.
I have such a great time rewatching this movie over and over again, to the point where I legit enjoyed 2 of the sequels, since they carried some of the good from this. But there will only be one true Scary Movie, and it's the first that struck gold. Alas, there's still one who outshines its slick skills. However, it remains a classic worth calling up any night. Before we reach our number 1, here's a few honorable mentions. Gremlins, a rare good Christmas nightmare full of chaotic wildness that'll both traumatize and make you giggle. Young Frankenstein. Personally, I prefer High Anxiety, yet Brooks' first dark comedy still holds up as a quality experiment. Idle Hands. It's merely a dumb, fun stoner comedy, not as great as the other contenders, but it's quite smoky. Tremors. This one came so close to making the list, but the love letter to monster B movies was an alright shakeup. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. A wacky circus of insanity that has a ball with its goofy premise. I, for one, cannot wait for the video game. Scary Movie 2. This movie's just as hilarious as the original, but the first was just more iconic. Army of Darkness. Evil Dead fans idolize this sequel and consider it the best of the trilogy for its quirky comedic gold. But sadly, I just love Evil Dead 2 more. The Tales from the Crypt movies. These are trippy, ghoulish fables. They almost made it further, but lost to my number 1. Speaking of which... Oh no, it's a tie! And my top pick of all horror comedy are Barry Sonnenfeld's Addams Family movies.
Were you expecting, maybe, the Ninja Turtles?
What can I even say? It's the Addams Family, pretty much the definitive mascots of beloved horror comedy. Both movies are on here because not only are they both outstanding, but they do share relatively the exact same plot. The Addams Family are the mysterious and spooky family on the block who get into bizarre, grim hijinks for fun, but on both films, some sketchy con artists weasel their way into their lives so as to scam them out of the family fortune through manipulation and underhanded deception. Funnily enough, it's through Uncle Fester, the first movie having his abusive mother and him trick the Addams clan into trusting him so he'd have more power over the home, and in the sequel, a psychotic gold digger seducing him and turning him against his loved ones. These movies are both warped and disturbing, but absolutely revel in the kooky fun, grim setting, and classy one-liners.
Let's discuss how to prevent forest fires. Prevent them?
The Addams Family themselves are picture-perfect casting, even more than Ghostbusters. Raul Julia's energetic Gomez, Christina Ricci's unique star-making role Wednesday, Angelica Houston's alluring Morticia, and our friendly neighborhood grandpire Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester.
Children, look! Right at Lavinia! She was beheaded by her own children! Yay!
There's of course other great performances and surprise cameos in there too, but the Addams clan are all so endearing, charming, and fun to be around. I cherish these movies immensely since they're so quirky. It really helps that the flick was made by hardcore fans of the Addams Family saga, who pay loving tribute to all the best elements which made these spooky elites elite in the first place. The Addams Family are just so wholesome, witty, and quaint. If you look past their dark tastes, they're simply a loving family of ultra-goths who do all they can to keep their family together and happy. I honestly couldn't decide which I loved more because both tales are fantastic.
And the diamond turned into a baby. Our parents are having a baby too. They had sex.
The first cinematic Addams Family adaptation was a touching yet funny family comedy where the Addamses rebuild what they feared was a fractured fam as Uncle Fester slowly grows fond of the altogether ooky misfits. The second one actually upgrades the dark humor into this insanely wild ride where all the Addamses go through even more over-the-top stunts to save their bond. I kind of consider these two movies connected as one, since it's from the same creators in one canon, and both somehow manage to be equal in terms of epicness. It does keep the spirit of the Addams Family's classic TV show, as well as the comic, yet Sonnenfeld's style truly did help these gems stick out as their own, and upgraded the Addams Family to better than ever. The Addams Family are incredible, the plots are easy to follow, the acting makes these comedies, the zingers are all quotable, the gothic setting's divine, the family dynamic is precious, and it has an abundance of spooky flair. You're never going to convince me that the greatest horror comedy all ages can enjoy isn't The Addams Family. And that concludes my list. So, what do you think? Do I know funny or what? Were you surprised? Are you gonna give some a whirl? What are your top 10 favorite horror comedies? I'm your host, Catastrophe, and if you crave more, then follow me.
Beauregard!